Imagine this. You are surrounded by people chasing success. Some play fair, work hard, and hold on to their principles. Others lie, manipulate, and crush anyone who stands in their way. And yet, who do you see at the top? Who writes the rules? Who owns the world? It's the ruthless, the unapologetic, the ones who do not hesitate. Why is the world designed to favor those without morality? History screams the answer at us. Caesars, emperors, warlords, billionaires. The pattern repeats: the most ruthless rise. But this is not just chance. It's not a glitch in the system. It is the system. And to understand why, we need to step into the mind of N and confront one of the most unsettling truths about human nature. Power is not a reward for goodness. It is a prize for those who take it. We are taught to believe in a comforting lie that success is a reward for hard work, talent, and moral integrity. But history, business, and politics tell a different story, one that is far darker and far more honest. Power does not reward those who deserve it. It rewards those who take it. The world is not structured to uplift the virtuous. It is built to serve those who understand its mechanics and exploit them without hesitation. Success is rarely about fairness. It is about control, strategy, and the willingness to do what others won't. Why do corrupt politicians thrive? Because they understand the game better than their honest counterparts. Politics is not about justice. It is about influence. A leader who tells people what they want to hear manipulates the system to maintain authority, and silences opposition will always rise higher than one who clings to integrity at the cost of power. Morality is a weakness when the goal is domination. History proves this. The most powerful rulers were not the most ethical, but the most strategic. They made promises they never intended to keep. They built alliances only to break them when it suited their goals. They understood that power is not given, it is taken. Why do ruthless CEOs dominate industries? Because business is war, not charity. A CEO who prioritizes fairness over efficiency, loyalty over results, or ethics over expansion will be crushed by competitors who make the hard choices they refuse to. The companies that survive are the ones that cut jobs when necessary, even if it devastates states' thousands. The leaders who rise are those who eliminate competition, not those who make peace with it. The industries that thrive are built on calculated exploitation of labor, of markets, of resources. It is an uncomfortable truth, but it is the truth nonetheless. The economy does not reward kindness, it rewards dominance. Why do history's greatest rulers have dark pasts? Because greatness and ruthlessness often walk hand in hand. Alexander the Great did not conquer the world through diplomacy. Alone he burned cities to the ground. Julius Caesar did not rise through honor. He betrayed the Senate. Napoleon did not build an empire by following the rules. He rewrote them in his favor. Power is never about kindness. It is about control. The rulers who left a mark on history understood this simple fact. A leader must be feared before they are loved. Fairness is an illusion, a tool to keep the weak in line. Society tells us to fear to play by the rules, to believe that good people will ultimately win. But who created these rules? The very people who benefit from them. Workers are told to stay loyal, while corporations cut them off the moment they become unprofitable. Citizens are taught to obey the law, while the elite bend it to their advantage. The masses believe in justice, while those in power manipulate the legal system to protect themselves. Fairness is not a universal law. It is a narrative designed to maintain control. The real world belongs to those who understand this and act accordingly. Power is not about deserving it, it is about seizing it. Friedrich Nietzsche did not just question morality, he exposed it as a deception in his groundbreaking work, Beyond Good and Evil. He argued that morality is not an objective truth, but a tool, a carefully crafted illusion, used by the weak to shame, control, and restrain the strong. What we call good and evil are not universal laws, but social constructs designed to serve the interests of different groups. Weak people unable to seize power themselves create moral systems that demonize strength and ambition while glorifying submission and meekness. The strong, however, recognize morality for what it is, a cage meant to limit those who could otherwise rule. At the heart of N's philosophy is the will to power, the fundamental force that drives all life. According to Nietzsche, human beings do not seek happiness, peace, or even survival as their highest goal. Instead, they crave power, the ability to impose their will on the world to shape reality according to their own. Vision power is not just political or physical, it is psychological, intellectual, and creative. The greatest minds in history, philosophers, artists, warriors, and rulers, were not passive seekers of truth or justice. They were conquerors of reality, bending society culture, and even morality to their will. The will to power is not about cruelty for its own sake. It is about overcoming limitations, refusing to be bound by weak moralities, and forging one's own path. Those who embrace it shape history. Those who deny it become footnotes in it. And so the world divided into two moralities. Master morality, the morality of the strong, it values strength, ambition, and self-overcoming. It is the mindset of leaders, warriors, and creators, those who do not seek approval or permission, but take what they desire, the strong. Define their own morality based on excellence, dominance, and the pursuit of greatness. Slave morality, the morality of the weak. It values submission, obedience, and victimhood. It is the mindset of the ruled who, unable to rise above their conditions, create moral systems that glorify suffering, humility, and weakness instead of striving for power. They resent those who have it. Instead of seeking victory, they demonize those who achieve it. Slave morality preaches virtues like kindness, patience, and humility, not because they are truly noble, but because they keep the weak from rebelling against their position. The masses are taught to believe that strength is evil, ambition is selfish, and power is corrupt, ensuring that only a few ever dare to claim it. The reality morality is a choice, not a law. The question NSA forces us to confront is this: will you live by the morality imposed upon you, or will you create your own? If you cling to traditional morality, you will remain powerless, trapped in a system designed to keep you weak if you reject it and forge your own path. You will become the architect of your own destiny. History does not remember the obedient. It remembers the ones who rise above the herd. Success is not random. It does not favor the most moral, the kindest, or the most deserving. It follows a set of psychological laws, patterns that reward certain mindsets and punish others. History, business, politics, across every domain. Those who rise to power do not do so because they were good people. They succeed because they possess specific psychological traits that separate them from the masses. These traits are the true currency of power, and those who master them dominate the world. Ambition, the relentless desire to rise, the first and most crucial trait of winners, is ambition, a hunger so deep that nothing can satisfy it except victory. Ordinary people settle. They accept their circumstances, making peace with mediocrity. The ambitious never do. They see every obstacle as a challenge, every setback as fuel. Ambition is not about dreaming, it is about obsession. It is the unshakable belief that you are meant for more and the refusal to accept anything less. Look at history's greatest rulers, CEOs, and visionaries. None of them were content. They wanted more, and they took it. Indecision is death in the world of power. The weak hesitate, overanalyze, and second-guess themselves. The strong act. Decisive leaders make decisions with speed and confidence. They do not wait for the perfect moment. They create it indecisive. People let opportunities slip away, paralyzed by fear of failure. The winners, they take risks. While others are still debating, a decisive mindset does not mean making reckless choices. It means trusting your instincts, committing to a path and adjusting along the way. Most people avoid risk because they fear loss, rejection, or failure. The powerful embrace risk because they understand it is the price of victory. Fear is what keeps the weak in place. They fear change. They fear standing out. They fear the unknown, the powerful. See fear as a compass. If something scares them, it means it's worth pursuing. Think of the most successful figures in history: conquerors, entrepreneurs, revolutionaries, None of them played it safe. They were willing to risk everything because they knew fortune favors the bold. Strategic ruthlessness, knowing when to play by the rules and when to break them. The world preaches fairness, but those who rise to power understand a brutal truth. The rules are only real if you believe in them. The powerful do not blindly follow rules. They analyze them. They play by them when it benefits them and break them when necessary. They understand when kindness is a weakness, and when it is a weapon. Strategic ruthlessness is not about being cruel. It's about being effective. It means removing emotion from decisions, cutting off what holds you back and doing what must be done, even if it is uncomfortable. The cold truth: success favors strength, not morality. The world does not reward kindness, morality, or fairness. It rewards those who understand and apply the psychology of power. Winners are not the most ethical. They are the most ambitious, decisive, fearless, and strategic. If you want to rise, you must develop these traits, because in the end, power belongs to those who take it. 4. Gradually increase depth based on their demonstrated capacity. 5. Always frame insights as offerings rather than pronouncements. Jung emphasized, the goal is not to find people who accept everything you see, but to find people who can engage with your perceptions as valuable contributions to understanding rather than threats to their self-image. Because integrated superior perception serves both individual and collective development. Therefore, Jung viewed successful individuation as essential not just for personal well-being, but for the evolution of human consciousness itself. Jung wrote in The Undiscovered Self, the individual has always been the carrier of the living spirit, the one who brings about the change in society. He believed that individuals who successfully integrate superior perception become what he called culture carriers, people who help consciousness evolve. The 4 stages of transformation. Stage 1. Recognition without overwhelm. The first transformation occurs when you learn to acknowledge your perceptive abilities without being crushed by them. Jung called this conscious acceptance of the superior function. Jung wrote, the beginning of wisdom is the recognition of what one actually is, not what one wishes to be or fears to be. Stage 2. Integration without isolation. The second stage involves learning to use your perception constructively while maintaining meaningful relationships. Jung called this social individuation, becoming authentically yourself while remaining connected to others. Jung observed the individuated person does not withdraw from the world, but engages with it more consciously. Stage 3. Service without sacrifice. The third transformation happens when your perception becomes a gift you offer rather than a burden you carry. Jung called this conscious participation, using your abilities in service of others without depleting yourself. Jung wrote, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are and then to offer that authentic self in service of the whole. Stage 4. Legacy without attachment. The final stage involves what Jung called transcendent function, using your perception to contribute to collective consciousness evolution without attachment to whether others recognize or accept your contributions. Jung observed, the individuated person works for the future, not for personal recognition in the present. The integration becomes cultural medicine. Jung believed that individuals who successfully integrate superior perception serve a vital evolutionary function. They see what collective consciousness is not yet ready to acknowledge, helping to prepare humanity for necessary developmental steps. Jung wrote, what is not brought to consciousness comes to us as fate. Highly perceptive individuals who learn integration help make unconscious contents conscious before they manifest destructively in collective behavior. But Jung warned about specific pitfalls that can derail this transformation. Because the path of integrating superior perception contains specific dangers, therefore Jung documented the most common ways individuals derail their own transformation process. Pitfall 1. The inflation trap. Jung wrote extensively about psychological inflation, when individuals become identified with their superior function rather than integrating it consciously. In 2 essays on analytical psychology, he warned, the danger is that the ego identifies with the archetype, leading to an inflation that cuts the individual off from human relationships. Highly perceptive individuals often fall into what Jung called the prophet complex, believing they must save everyone from unconsciousness. This leads to preaching, judgment, and eventual isolation. Jung observed, the moment one believes oneself to be the bearer of absolute truth, one has fallen into the trap of unconscious possession by the very forces one seeks to understand. Pitfall 2. The withdrawal justification. Jung documented cases where individuals used their superior perception to justify complete withdrawal from society. They convinced themselves that others were too unconscious to be worth engaging, which Jung recognized as a spiritual superiority masquerading as wisdom. Jung wrote, "True individuation requires engagement with the unconscious world, not escape from it. The hermit who withdraws from life has not transcended it, but has been defeated by it." Pitfall 3. The helper's trap. Jung observed that some highly perceptive individuals become addicted to being needed. They define themselves entirely through their ability to see and help others, losing contact with their own inner development. Jung warned, when perception becomes identity, the person disappears behind the function. This is not individuation, but its opposite, the sacrifice of personality to role. Pitfall 4. The overwhelm return. Even successfully integrated individuals can regress during periods of stress, trauma, or major life transitions. They stop maintaining their psychological boundaries and become flooded with others' unconscious contents again. Jung emphasized nikuiti. Integration is not a permanent achievement, but a dynamic process requiring constant conscious attention. The integration maintenance. Jung developed ongoing practices for maintaining healthy integration. Regular solitude for distinguishing your own psychological contents from absorbed material. Conscious choice about when and with whom to engage perceptive abilities. Ongoing shadow work to prevent projection of your own unconscious contents. Connection with others capable of providing reality checking and support. Creative expression as an outlet for overwhelming perceptual input. Jung wrote, "The integrated person does not achieve perfection, but learns to dance consciously with their own psychological complexity." Because Jung understood superior perception within the context of collective psychological development, therefore he viewed highly perceptive individuals as serving an essential evolutionary function for human consciousness. In The Undiscovered Self, Jung wrote, "The individual has always been the carrier of the living spirit, the one who brings about the change in society." He believed that people with superior perception serve as what he called consciousness pioneers, individuals whose psychological development precedes collective readiness. The historical pattern. Jung observed that throughout history, individuals with superior perception often appeared before collective consciousness was ready to integrate their insights. They served as advanced scouts for psychological territories that humanity would eventually need to explore. Jung wrote, "What appears in the individual first as psychological insight later manifests in the collective as cultural transformation. The individual serves as a laboratory for consciousness experiments that will eventually benefit the whole." Modern manifestations. Jung believed that in the modern era, highly perceptive individuals might be sensing psychological patterns that explain collective behavior, environmental and social unsustainability before it becomes obvious, spiritual possibilities beyond current religious frameworks, technological implications that others haven't considered, and collective shadow contents that need conscious integration. Jung's insight. The sensitive individual feels the collective problems first and most intensely. Their personal symptoms often reflect what the entire culture needs to address. The service without martyrdom. Jung's crucial insight was that superior perception serves evolution best when it's integrated consciously rather than suffered unconsciously. The goal isn't to be a martyr to consciousness, but to be a bridge between what is and what's becoming. Jung wrote, "The individuated person serves the collective not by sacrificing their individuality, but by developing it so completely that it becomes a gift to the whole." The ultimate integration. At the highest level of development, Jung observed, individuals with superior perception hold their abilities lightly, seeing clearly without attachment to others, accepting what they see, perceiving deeply without compulsion to fix everything they observe. Jung called this the transcendent function, the ability to serve consciousness evolution naturally, without forcing or preaching, simply by embodying more conscious ways of being. Remember Jung's patient from 1913, the introverted intuitive who came to him during his own psychological crisis. After 3 years of working with Jung's individuation process, her life transformed completely. She learned to distinguish between her own psychological contents and what she absorbed from others. She found work as a counselor where her differentiated perception helped troubled individuals. She built relationships with people who valued her insights rather than fearing them. Most importantly, she stopped experiencing her superior perception as a curse and began understanding it as what Jung called a gift, requiring conscious development. Jung wrote about her transformation. The patient learned not to see less, but to see more wisely, not to perceive less deeply, but to engage more consciously with what she perceived. Her gift remained intact, but her relationship to it became integrated rather than overwhelming. This represents Jung's most dangerous discovery, that some individuals are born with consciousness that exceeds collective readiness, and this advanced perception will either destroy them through isolation and overwhelm, or transform them into exactly what humanity needs for its psychological evolution. Your superior perception isn't a malfunction in your psychological makeup. It's an advanced feature of consciousness development. You're not broken because you see everything others miss. You're psychologically ahead of your time. The question isn't whether you should suppress your perception to fit in with collective unconsciousness. The question is whether you'll develop the individuation skills necessary to integrate your perception consciously. Jung's individuation method offers a path from dangerous isolation to conscious service, from overwhelming perception to integrated wisdom, from psychological curse to evolutionary contribution. You were born to see everything, not to suffer in silence, but to serve consciousness evolution. The world needs your insights, but it needs them delivered with the integration, wisdom, and strategic awareness that transformed dangerous perception into cultural medicine. Your gift is not your burden. Your unconscious relationship to your gift is your burden. Learn to integrate it consciously, and you become exactly what Jung believed highly perceptive individuals were meant to be: consciousness pioneers, preparing humanity for psychological development that is inevitable but not yet obvious. Jung's most dangerous discovery wasn't that some people see everything. It's that most people who see everything never learn to use what they see wisely. The danger isn't in the perception itself, but in failing to develop a conscious relationship with extraordinary abilities. You are not too much for this world. You are exactly what consciousness evolution requires. Once you learn to wield your perception as consciously as Jung learned to wield his, the danger of seeing everything isn't that you see too much. It's that you might never learn to see with the integration and wisdom your gifts demand. If you recognize yourself in Jung's description of the highly perceptive individual, you're part of a rare psychological type that Jung believed essential for consciousness evolution. Share in the comments which type of differentiated perceiver you are. Your individuation journey connects with others walking the same path. Subscribe for more insights into Jung's discoveries about psychological development that transcends collective unconscious limitations. If you're ready to explore more of Jung's insights about psychological types that don't fit conventional patterns, check out my video on 7 Dangerous Carl Jung Psychology, Places That Destroy Your Mind, where I reveal the psychological environments that are particularly toxic for highly sensitive and perceptive individuals, and Jung's strategies for protecting your consciousness while engaging with an unconscious world. Thank you for watching. See you in the next dimension.